Hello everyone, I am Dr. Preeti Khulbe and we are discussing today about the regulatory affairs and worldwide regulatory bodies. So in previous videos also we have discussed a lot about regulatory affairs. So if you want to know in detail about the introduction of regulatory affairs, the regulatory bodies, the need of regulatory bodies, why regulatory body is essential, so you can visit my previous videos. Also, we have discussed in our previous videos related to the US FDA as well as EMA, that is the regulatory body of US as well as Europe. We have already discussed. So yeah, so if you want that, so you can see my previous videos. Learning objective. Upon completion of this unit, the students will be able to learn or know the various considerations related to regulatory affairs. That is, we have discussed in our previous videos also that the regulatory affair is a affairs which is used for the regulation of any industry, specifically the healthcare industry. So to get the qualitative product or to control the efficacy and safety of the drugs as well as cosmetic products, nutraceuticals, we use the regulatory affair department or regulatory affair personnel we use. So the main role of this regulatory affairs is to control the safety and efficacy of the drug. In this, the regulatory affair department is a very important department which covers all healthcare related industry. So in healthcare industry, not only the pharmaceutical industry is there, other than that, other industries like other than pharmaceutical industries like like what we can say, yeah, medical devices industry, related to the medical devices, related to the cosmetology, related to the veterinary products. So all are comes under the healthcare industry. So all these require the regulatory affair. Okay, now the second important thing which we'll discuss in this unit is know the various legal issues related to the regulatory bodies. So we know that regulatory body and regulatory department is all about the legal things, that is what are the issues, legal issues which may be there in the industry for which the regulatory body is required. And if we want to market certain products, so what type of regulatory body is there in each and every country. There is a different regulatory body which regulates the market of the that country. So this all we will discuss in this unit. Okay, other than that, we'll also discuss about the general consideration of INDA, NDA, what is investigational new drug application, what is new drug application, when to file for INDA and when to file for the NDA. We will discuss in in this regulatory affair unit. On learning outcomes. So on successful completion of unit, students will be able to learn, able to know the role of regulatory affair department as well as responsibility of regulatory affair department, as well as know all about the regulatory bodies, that is what country is having what type of regulatory bodies, what are basic the role and responsibility of the regulatory affairs. So as we have discussed that if we talk about the responsibility of regulatory bodies, so regulatory bodies, the responsibility of regulatory bodies starts from the beginning, that is from where the thought of the new product starts, and it will be there in the throughout the process, and it will be there till the consumer consumes the product. So that is post marketing also there is a role of regulatory affair department. Okay, so there are different regulatory responsibilities also, like they regulatory affair department require for the marketing approval, for the for the technical advisors, also regulatory affair department or regulatory affair persons are required. Okay, so All these things you will able to learn after the completion of this unit. And in this we have also discussed most of the introductory part in our last videos, and in further videos we will discuss about in detail about the regulatory agency of different countries. So if you want the introductory part, you can visit my previous videos. This is the 5th video of the regulatory affair lecture. In first video we have discussed about general introduction. In second video we have discussed about the US FDA. In third and fourth videos we have discussed about the EMA, that is the European Medicine Agency, which is there in the, which is a regulatory agency in the Europe. Okay, so yeah. So in today's video we will discuss about this. So this is the next we will discuss about the Pharmacovigilance and Risk Assessment Committee. So this PRAC, that is the Pharmacovigilance and Risk Assessment Committee, is there, which is a replacement of Pharmacovigilance Working Party. So previously the Pharmacovigilance Working Party is there, and in 2012 Pharmacovigilance Working Party is renamed as Pharmacovigilance and Risk Assessment Committee. So as we have discussed that there is there is, as we have discussed that there is so this as we have discussed that previously, that the role of role of regulatory affair is there after the post marketing also, we can say. So this pharmacovigilance means also known as, it is also known as post marketing survey. So that is when the drug reaches to the market and it will consumed by the consumer. Then after that, post marketing, what type of side effects or what type of effects are there, these all comes under the pharmacovigilance or post marketing survey. Okay, so the mandate of this is the risk detection. The main mandate of this pharmacovigilance and risk assessment committee is the risk detection. Okay, risk, because it is the risk assessment committee. So risk detection, benefit risk assessment, communication of risk and benefit and risk minimization and analysis impact, design and evaluation of pass. So all these things are there in the PRAC team or PRAC committee. So basically after the marketing of the product, if there is risk, any risk, if there is any side effect, so detection of those side effects, those risks are comes under the are the main work of PRAC. Now CHMP and CMDH to rely upon is recommendations from PRAC but retain responsibilities for benefit and risk assessment. So CHMP, we have already discussed about the CHMP, CMDH in our previous videos, so you can also visit those videos for the detail of CHMP and CMDH. So these are the PRAC recommends CHMP and CMDH related to the risk assessment and the benefit risk assessment. Now PRAC, as we had discussed, started in July 2012. Before that, the PRAC is named as the Pharmacovigilance Working Party. In July 2012, it is converted into the PRAC, that is Pharmacovigilance and Risk Assessment Committee. Now the membership, if we talk about the membership, so one member and one alternate from each MS, that is the from each MS also we have discussed in our previous videos, member state. Okay, we have discussed that 27 member state are there in the Europe, so same thing is there. So one member and one alternate member from the each MS is there in the PRAC. Other than that, it is chaired by the head of UK MHRA, so that is June M. Rain. Okay, after that the vice chairman is there, which is Ireland IBM owner is there as a this vice chairman. So all these things are there. So that is the basic members are one member and one alternate member from the each member state is there, and other than that one chairman is there and one vice chairman is there. Now interaction between PRAC and CHMP. So about 30% of CHMP agenda would go to PRAC. So 30% go to PRAC related to the CHMP, and other is CMDH. Now aiming that PRAC rapporteur could come from same MS as CHMP, and challenge with the timing of PRAC opinions, that is the trying to fit the PRAC 60 days review time frame into overall timelines and still allow the CHMP time to consider PRAC input before adopting their opinions. So basically as we have discussed that this PRAC is given its recommendations to the CHMP. So this CHMP and PRAC give it the CHMP 60 days review time frame for the results of risk assessment. Now new requirement for the marketing authorization application. So there are some new requirement related to the MA, that is marketing authorization application. So at least the full form of all the things, like if there is MA is written, so you should know that MA is related to the marketing authorization application. Okay. Now the pharmacovigilance system master file. So in this pharmacovigilance system master file is added, as well as RMP, that is risk management plan, is added into the marketing authorization application. So the MAA first component which is added in the MAA is pharmacovigilance system master file, that is PSMF is the first thing which is added into the MAA. MAH must prepare and maintain the pharmacovigilance system master file PSMF, and it replaces the former detailed description of pharmacovigilance system, that is DDPS, and must be held in the MAS site. So basically before the PSMF, that is pharmacovigilance system master file, there is a DDPS, that is detailed description of pharmacovigilance system is there, but after that this DDPS is replaced by the PSMF in the new MAA. Now summary of the pharmacovigilance system must be included in the MAA dossier. So all the summary related to the pharmacovigilance and why this is important, so all the summary is included in the MAA dossier, and dossier we have discussed that it is a set of documents which is sent to for the marketing authorization application. So full PSMF, that is full pharmacovigilance system master file, to be provided within 7 days of request from a competent authority. So if the dossier is to be submitted, so if the competent MAA is asking for the PSMF, so within 7 days of request the PSMF should be transferred. Now second important component of MAA is the risk management plan. Okay, So risk management plan, RMP, is the detailed description of risk management system, is the risk management plan. In risk management plan, detailed description related to the risk management system is there. RMPs to be included in the MMAs for all new products. Okay, all new products which are there in this, the RMP should be there. So NB authorities can impose need for the risk management system on already authorized products if concerned about the benefit and risk balance. Format and content of the RMPs addressed in Commission's implementing measures. Now there is an overview of the regulation of the European Union is given. So here European Union regulatory system is divided into two, that is EDQM, that is the Council of Europe, as well as assessment on MA, that is agency of EMEA is there. So both like EDQM and MMA are working for the European Union risk management. Okay, laws and directives, regulations, that is EU regulations. If you want to go in detail related to EU regulations and laws and directions related to the EU regulatory system, so you can visit this website, that is http //pharmacos.eudra.org. okay, it gives the relevant EU legislation and guidelines. So if you want a detailed guideline related to the European Union, so you can visit this site. Okay, other than that, there are 10 volumes are there in the European Union regulatory system document. First volume is related to the pharmaceutical legislation for medical products for human use. So there are multiple medical products which are for the human use. So these medical products are these medical products which are for the human use are there. Second is it notice to applicants for medical products for human use. 2 is again divided into two parts, that is 2A is procedure for marketing authorization, and B is preparation and format of the dossier. Okay, volume 3 gives the guidelines. So 3A quality and biotechnology, 3B covers the safety and environmental as well as the information, C is related to the efficacy, and so ABC is there in the 3. Then volume 4 is related to the good manufacturing practices. Volume 5 is related to the pharmaceutical legislation for medical products for veterinary use. Volume 6 is related to the notice to applicant for medicinal product for veterinary use. 7 is related to the scientific guidelines for medical products for veterinary use. 8th is related to the maximum residue limits. 9th is related to the guidelines for guidelines for PV for the MP for this human and veterinary use. Guideline 10 is volume 10 is related to the guidelines for the clinical trials. So all these things are there. So all these guidelines are there related to the European Union regulatory system. So in this the 10 volume system, the each and every volume has the specific thing which is there. For example, in volume 1 it is the pharmaceutical legislation for medical products of human use is there. That is the all the legislative things, all the regulated things which are required for the human use of the medicinal products or are detailed described in the volume 1 of European Union regulatory system. Second is the notice. It notice to applicants for the medicinal products for human use. So it is if you want to send the notice to the notice related to the medicinal products for human use, so all the application formats are given here. What is the procedure? All the procedures are given here. Here two subsections of volume 2 are there. In first, the marketing authorization. If anyone wants to give the marketing authorization, so for this marketing authorization, the procedure, detailed procedure of filing the applicants are given in the volume 2. Similarly, in volume 2A, similarly in volume 2B, the preparation and format of the dossier, how to submit the dossier, what is the format of the dossier. So all things are given in the second one, in the volume 2. The guidelines in volume 3, all the guidelines are there. Either it is related to the environmental, either it is related to the quality of the product, the biotechnological product, the efficacy related to the product. So these guidelines are subdivided into 3 sections: 3A, 3B and 3C. Similarly, as we all know that good manufacturing practices, that is GMP, is a important part of this important part of this industry, healthcare industry. So in volume 4, the volume 4 is totally dedicated to the GMP. That is how the manufacturing facilities should be there in the manufacturing unit, how we can use the good manufacturing practices to get the qualitative product. Okay, next is the volume 5 covers the pharmaceutical legislation for the medical products for veterinary use. So all the legislations related to the veterinary products are given in the volume 5. As we have discussed in volume 1, the legislation related to the human use products are given. Similarly, in volume 5, legislation related to the medicinal products of veterinary use are given. So if veterinary use product we want to check, so we have to go for the volume 5 for the legislation. And if we if we want to know about the pharmaceutical products, so we should go for the volume 1. Similarly, in volume 6, the notice of applicant related to the veterinary product are given in the volume 6. In volume 7, scientific guideline related to the veterinary product are given. In volume 8, maximum residue limits are there. And in volume 9, all the guidelines related to the human and veterinary product PV, that is the related to this, are given in volume 9. And in 10, the clinical trial guideline are given. Okay, because clinical trial is also one of the important thing in the regulatory requirement, or in the, we can say, the marketing authorization. So all the clinical guidelines are given in volume 10. Okay, next is the maintenance of marketing authorization, variations and renewals. So European Union variations, in this the Commission guideline on the dossier requirements for type 1A and 1B notification in July 2006. So all the notification related to the EU variations are published in 2006 July, and in this the it is mentioned that Commission guideline on dossier requirements are given in the type EU variation type 1A and 1B. Next is the categories of variations. So there are two categories or two types of variations are there. It is a minor variation may be there, or major variation or major changes may be there. Okay, variation generally means changes. If during the marketing authorization or after the renewal, if there is any variation in the formulation, so this variation category involves. So then this variation may be the minor variation or minor change or the major change. change. In minor change again divided into two, that is type 1A and type 1B. In type 1A variation and type 1A variation there are two, that is type 1A-IN and type 1A. Similarly, in type 1B there are single type of variation, which is type 1B, and it notify the wait for 30 days. After the notification of minor changes, you have to wait for 30 days for the approval. Now major changes, if there is any major change, so that will come under the type 2 variation, and it needs the prior approval and 60 days evaluation time period. So that is, if there is any major change in your formulation, so you have to first need the approval. If it is just for example, if you are changing just in the leaflet or the carton or the packaging material you are changing, so and in packaging material also there is a minor variation is there, so only you have to notify to the team and to the regulatory authority and just wait for 30 days and then you can go for your work. But in case of major changes, you first need to need the prior approval, and then you have to wait for the 60 days, and 60 days time for the evaluation is there. Next is the differences between the categories. So all the categories differences like type 1A in, type 1A, type 1B, type 2. So all of these there are some variations, like first one is approval time variation is there, like in case of major category or minor category there is a time of approval changes. In minus 30 days time interval is there, and in major 60 days time interval is there. Documentation to be submitted, obviously documentation submission in case of major changes, the documentation submission is more documents we need to submit, whereas in minor changes there is no need to submit lots of documents. There is the need of document to be submitted, but the documents is very less documents are submitted. Now money or fees, fees also you have to pay the proper fee for the major as well as minor category changes, but in case of major category changes the fee is high as compared to the minor changes. Now South Africa, now we have discussed about the EMA till now, and now till then, now we are discussing about the South Africa. So we have then we have discussed about the regulatory agency of the USA, that is the US FDA is the regulatory agency for US. We have discussed about the regulatory body of Europe, that is EMA, that is the European Medicine Agency. Now come to the third, that is the South Africa. So what is the regulatory body of the South Africa? That is, if you want to market your product in the South Africa, so what type of regulatory body is there? Okay, so the regulatory body there is the Medicines Control Council, MCC, or Medicine Control Council is the regulatory body in the South Africa. The Medicines Control Council is a statutory body that was established in terms of the Medicines and Related Substances Control Act 101 of 1965 to oversee the regulation of medicines in South Africa. So in South Africa, MCC is the regulatory body which is established in 1965. Okay, or the main work or main function or main role of this MCC is to regulate the medicine market in the South Africa. Okay, so that is MCC. If the question is what is the regulatory agency of the South Africa, so you have to write the Medicines Control Council, that is MCC. Okay, if you will just write the MCC, so answer will be wrong, or we can say I'll only give you the half marks, because you have to write in full form also, that is Medicine Control Council is the regulatory body of the South Africa. and it was established in 1965. Now it is appointed by the Minister of Health, and its main purpose is to safeguard and protect the public through ensuring that all medicines that are sold and used in South Africa are safe, therapeutically effective, and consistently meet acceptable standards of the quality. Okay, so this is very simple thing, that in case of each and every regulatory body, the motive of that regulatory body is same. Okay, so we can say that similarly in South Africa, if we want to control and regulate the medicine market, or control and regulate or protect the public health, so there is a regulatory agency which is there. Similarly in each and every country, similarly in South Africa also, this MCC is appointed by the Ministry of Health, and the main function or main purpose of this is to safeguard and protect the public by controlling the controlling the medicine in this. Okay. Now South Africa, that is Medicine Control Council, MCC. Now we have to see the structure of MCC. MCC structure is the MCC, as the full form is Medicine Control Council. In this, one chairperson is there, one vice chairperson is there. Okay, in each and every cases, the chairperson and vice chairperson is there. After chairperson and vice chairperson, there are number of committees heads are there. Okay, so we can say the chairperson and vice chairperson of many committees are the member of MCC, that is Medicine Control Council. So first one is these committees are African Traditional Medicine Committee, Veterinary Clinical Committee, Biological Committee, Clinical Trial Committee, Pharmacovigilance Committee, Complementary Medicine Committee, Analytical Committee, Clinical Committee, Pharmaceutical and Bio Availability Committee, and Scheduling Committee. So all the committees here, you can see there are multiple committees are there, and all the committee heads or chairperson or vice chairperson are the member of the MCCs. Okay, so MCC is basically a regulatory body in South Africa, and it is appointed by the Ministry of Health of South Africa, and in this, one chairperson and one vice chairperson is there. And after that, other than that, there are 10 committee members are there. So, and all these 10 committee members, from each committee, the chairperson and vice chairperson of each committee are the members of the MCC. And these 10 committees are here, like Scheduling Committee, Pharmacovigilance Committee, Pharmaceutical and Bioavailability Committee, Clinical Trial Committee, Clinical Committee, Biological Committee, Veterinary Clinical Committee, Analytical Committee, Complementary Medicine Committee, as well as the chairperson and vice chairperson of African Traditional Medicine Committee. Okay. Okay. So we have discussed about the regulatory authority of South Africa. There are different country have different regulatory agency. We are just here just giving the brief about the regulatory agency of different countries. If you want the detailed description related to that guidelines of that different things, so different countries regulatory agencies, so you can visit that respective sites of that countries regulatory authority. So all the information related to that are given. Okay, so UK MHRA. So the MHRA regulates a wide range of materials like medicines, devices, tissue engineering, nanotechnology, and blood. Okay, so the UK, if we talk about the United Kingdom, so the regulatory authority for United Kingdom is MHRA. And again, this is a very important that, because in many places and many things MHRA is used. The full form of MHRA is Medicine and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. Okay, so as I have already told you that you should know the regulatory authority of each and every country as well as its full form. That is, if you say that US की regulatory agency is US FDA, so you should know the full form of US FDA. Similarly, if you say that the regulatory authority of UK is the MHRA, so you should know that MHRA is Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. Okay, so MHRA regulates a wide range of materials like this is also for the regulation and control of the veterinary as well as all the health related products. So the health related products which includes in the MHRA is medicines, any medicine, any medical devices, the tissue engineering, nanotechnology, as well as blood. So blood related devices or blood related things. So these all are the things which are there, which are covered in the MHRA. The term medicines embrace both pharmaceutical as well as biological medicines and vaccines. The term medical device include medical equipment. Medical devices are all products except the medicines used in the healthcare for the diagnosis, prevention, monitoring or treatment of illness or disability. Examples include the X-ray and X-ray and other imaging equipments, pacemakers, artificial joints, the anesthetic equipments, pregnancy test kits, infusions, equipment, beds, the wheelchairs, the condoms and surgical dressing. So all these things which are there in the medical devices are given here comes under the MHRA. So medicine means both the either it is the pharmaceutical or biological medicine or the vaccines, all comes under the medical medicines for the MHRA. And in case of medicinal devices, all these given here are the examples of medicine devices which are covered by the MHRA. WHO is the World Health Organization. Next is WHO. So WHO is a directing and coordinating authority for health within United Nations system. Okay, so within United Nations system, or the WHO is there, and mainly the WHO covers the whole World's Health Organization. This is, so it is responsible for providing the leadership on global health matters. Okay, as you see in case of vaccination, corona vaccines also, so global health matter is involved, so WHO is involved. So it is responsible for the providing the leadership on the global health matters, and it is shaping the health research agenda, setting norms and standards, articulating the evidence-based policy options, providing the technical support to countries, and monitoring and assessing the health trends. So all these are the responsibility of the WHO. Okay, WHO is based on the Geneva. Okay, you must have heard that the office of WHO, the head office of WHO is in Geneva. So yeah, so many countries follow the guidelines provided by the WHO. It is not the mandate, but the many countries follow the guidelines provided by the WHO. The FDC, that is Food and Drug Control Authority, India, also follows the WHO guidelines. Okay, FDC is there in India, so food which controls the food and drug. this is known as the Food and Drug Control Authority in India. So it also follows the WHO guideline, that is World Health Organization guideline. Now WHO GMP certification is a requirement and well accepted in most of the countries across, many countries. There is a requirement of WHO GMP certification is accepted by many countries, we can say. Now for example, Asia, the countries involved in the Asia, Africa, CIS, as well as Latin America, all these approved, all these accepted the WHO GMP certification. Now how does WHO work and for whom? So WHO work for who and whom. So what is the role of WHO? So main functions of WHO is to act as a directing and coordinating authority on international health work. Okay, so it is basically direct and coordinate the authorities to encourage the technical cooperation for health, and member of states has a constitutional mandate to develop the norms and standards. Okay, so we can say it develop the norms, it develop the standards, it it work as a coordinating authority, it encourage the technical cooperation for the health, okay, with the member of states. So so these are the functions of the WHO. Now WHO, World Health Organization, as all countries which are countries, so all countries which are members of the United Nations may become member of WHO by accepting its constitution. So if the country is there in the United Nations, so they can also be a part of WHO, but they have to accept its constitution, its things. Okay, next is other countries may be admitted as members when their applications has been approved by a simple majority vote for the of the World Health Assembly. So if World Health Assembly approved the application, the majority of votes made of this assembly is approved the application, so they can also be the member of WHO. Now territories which are not responsible for the conduct of their international relations may be admitted as associated member. Okay, they can make associated member upon application made on their behalf by the member or other authorities responsible for their international relations. Members of WHO are grouped according to regional distribution. 193 member states are there in the WHO. Okay, so in the WHO the 193 members are there, and if somebody with the international relationship with the want to become associate member, so they can file an application on behalf of the member or authority responsible for the international relations in the WHO. Okay, so these are the references. In references, the FDA and CDSCO and other WordPress article is given. And if you want to go in detail related to the worldwide regulatory bodies, the WHO, related to the US FDA, related to the EMA, related to the MHRA, related to the MCC, so you can visit this respective sites also. And if you want the detailed related to the introductory things, you can visit my previous videos. Also you can Google out the things, and it is better to if you want in detail related to, for example, MHRA, so you can directly Google out the MHRA website, and there in MHRA website all the information related to the MHRA is well explained or well given in that particular website. So here I can revise that in if we talk about the the regulatory body. So regulatory body of US is US FDA, United States Food and Drug Application. Then in the Europe regulatory agency is the medicine agency. Okay. EMA, that is European Medicine Agency, and the regulatory agency of South Africa is MCC, that is Medicine Control Council. Similarly the regulatory agency of UK is MHRA, that is Medicine and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency. Other than that, we have discussed about the WHO, and WHO we have discussed is a the regulatory body, or we can say the coordinating authority for healthcare within the United System nation. Okay, so yeah, so that's all for today, and thanks for watching my video.